Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Sit for the Task. On this episode, we're going to be covering some gym equipment for a full body workout that you can do at home. All right, guys. So it might seem a little difficult to get started with any sort of transformation, whether that be something in the fitness realm or maybe even something that you're working on mentally, emotionally, or whatever. But having the right tools at the right time when you are ready for that transformation is a huge, huge thing. And while we're going to relate everything to a fitness transformation, more specifically, getting the right tools that you need to at your own home. Um, we're going to cover all of those things here in this episode.
Yeah, so when you're at home, it can be hard if you don't have a fully decked out home gym to even know where to start, especially when it's hard to get a hold of gym equipment. I know right now, especially, it's pretty difficult to get our hands on any substantial gym equipment. So when we just have maybe a yoga mat or some dumbbells, it's hard to know where to start. But there are some things that you can do, especially if you're low on space, that can still help us get a full body workout. And you don't really need to have a fully decked out garage gym or a full squat rack, and you can still get your muscles moving.
Yeah, now don't get me wrong. If you do have access to those things, that's awesome. It's definitely something that if for instance, I guess Sarah and I right now are looking at paddle boards. It's something that we have a lot of interest in. However, in looking at some of the prices of what the paddle boards are, trying to find the happy medium between getting something that gets us out on the water and the best of the best top of the line. Now, if you're fortunate enough to get the top of the line thing and that's ready for your budget and you can handle that, by all means,
Well,
do
that's
that.
another thing is gym equipment is expensive, and a lot of people end up buying expensive machines and then never using them. So another thing is if you can get more bang for your buck and use something that is going to be used for not only maybe an arm workout, but also you're going to be able to use abs, you're going to be able to take it with you, and it's just affordable. That's all these things that we're going to be talking about today. So, the first thing on our list we have are resistance bands, and this is probably the most portable, the most versatile equipment that you can have, and they're not very expensive to begin with too.
Yeah, and the cool thing about resistance bands is because they are, relatively inexpensive, um, the more that you use them, even if you only get, one season out of them or maybe a summer or heck, if you can get an entire year, if you really take care of them, if you need to replace them, they're not that bad. Whereas, a big, cable fly machine or something like that, if that breaks or, obviously it's not portable like resistance bands, but resistance bands are really nice because there are very simple things that you can do within your garage or within your home to loop them around things. Just stand on them, suspend them from the ceiling or from a door mount. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can do to maximize how good resistance bands are.
Yeah, and they're super good for traveling. So, if you're on the road a lot, it's really hard to find, maybe your hotel has a little rundown gym and all it has is maybe a TV and a treadmill, and you're like, okay, well, how can I, make this my own workout? Resistance bands are a really good way to do that because you can just swing them right into your suitcase and take them out and hook them around wherever you want. So there's a couple different kinds of bands that you can use. So if you're not sure where to start, there are loop bands, which it's just a circle. And they're really good for looping around your knees and giving a little resistance to your squats or your lunges and getting our glutes active.
Yeah, those are really nice. So that's also something that you can use. I think that everyone should have just a set of loop bands. Honestly, I think you can typically get them at a sporting goods store for 15 to $20 or even order them on Amazon. And I think those are still available. They're not the first things usually sold out.
Yeah. And they can, even if you just do a regular body weight exercise, throwing a loop band around your knees to do your squats, I mean, it adds extra resistance and it just makes the exercise a little bit more difficult without having to add weight or having to, make time to pack your weights in your car on your trip. You still get that resistance, and there are different levels of resistance that you can get, and the loops are all the same size, but some are a little tighter, so you get more resistance. Some are lighter, where you can use them around your ankles or just at your skill level.
Yeah, one of my favorites with the loop bands is actually crab walks. Now, I do is just put it around my wrists, and then I guess it wouldn't be a crab walk, but I kind of just go into a plank position and then just move my hands one and then the other with the resistance band, on either one of my wrists. And then a step up from that is if you have another
push-up position.
Yeah, and then if you have another resistance band, you can even put it around your ankles, like what Sarah was saying too. So now you have almost this Superman effect of kind of crawling back and forth, and just do that for 20 times, and your heart rate's certainly up, and you're certainly getting a decent workout in, and not to mention you're also activating the muscles that need to be activated. Those loop bands, just like what Sarah said, are huge for just activating our muscles that don't typically turn on in workouts.
Yeah, and then and we're mostly talking about smaller loop bands, but there are also larger loop bands, and we use this a lot in the gym when I was coaching gymnastics for kids that needed to learn, chin-ups. And a chin-up is, either you're a pro at it or you are really struggling to even get close to the bar. And that can be really frustrating because there's no way to really do it on your own if you don't have some assistance. You're not going to just be able to, it's not like a lunge where you can just drop down and do it. For a chin up, we use loop bands to wrap around the bar, and then we put our feet in it. So then when you're going up into that pull-up position, you get, instead of resistance, you get an extra spring up to the bar. So it makes it a little easier. So if chin up is one of your goals, I would invest in a long loop band and just with enough resistance that it can hold your weight safely and help you to get up to that chin up.
Yeah, those are also really nice for any sort of, like what Sarah was saying, any sort of assisted, but then it's good for any sort of resisted, as it is a resistance band, whether that be sprints, whether that be push-ups, squats, or anything. I mean, you can take one of those loop bands, and we'll even talk about this with regular tube bands as well, which we'll get to next, that you can step on and just kind of take the loop right around the back of your shoulders and do a squat that way. It's pretty easy, and the thing that we love about bands more than anything is it doesn't take any time to set up. You just pull them out and you could just start working out. It's not, there's no, matter of loading up the bar or, loading up the cable machine or, whatever that might be, or getting into it. You can literally just pull out the bands, wrap them around something.
They're very beginner friendly for using them if you don't, if you aren't super familiar with, using, and this goes for all bands. So the tube bands especially. So tube bands, they're just a long straight line. So the loop bands, they are a circle. You wrap them around your ankles, but the tube bands are more to be used for dumbbell and cable movements. But they function kind of the same way. So you can get a door anchor and anchor them to almost the wall to use, or you can do the same thing that you would do with a loop band and loop it around whatever's heavy enough to hold it.
Yeah, and the nicer ones also will have some sort of carabiner at the end of those bands as well. So the cool thing with those tube bands is you could even interlock them together, and then you do have a longer loop band. So if I know that loop bands can sometimes get pricey in comparison to some of the tube bands. So if you just interlock a tube band with two carabiners on it, you can almost have your own little loop band that you can use for push-ups or squats or even assisting a pull-up too. Tube bands are what we travel with.
Mm-hmm.
That they're the main ones. Don't get me wrong, we still have our loop bands and other resistance bands as well, but those two bands, if you're going to get any of those three, in a pinch, you can double up and wrap them around your ankles, or you can wrap them around your wrists. But you can clip them on anything and loop them around
And
anything.
since they are a straight line, you can generally find them in a higher resistance. So I think you have up to 80 was the top one that we have.
Yeah, 80 pounds.
So
Yep.
yeah, so they go up pretty high resistance. But you can use them for any kind of lifting movement. And a lot of the movements that we have in our workout of the day program, you can add just a resistance band to it, and it doesn't change the exercise, but it does add a little bit of resistance.
Yeah, and so a tube band in difference between a dumbbell or a cable movement can actually be more effective in terms of your resistance anyway. So a dumbbell is going to have constant resistance. So the easiest way to think about it is just doing a curl. If you take a 25-pound dumbbell and you curl it to the top, it's going to maintain 25 pounds the whole way through it. Whereas a tube band, it's going to increase resistance the entire way through the movement. So it actually becomes a little bit more difficult at the top, which is more so the easier one. So
and it's especially easy to adapt. So for some of when I had a group of team gymnasts, and some of them are seniors in high school, and some of them, are third graders, they're going to be at different resistance levels. But making stations, you only have one band available. So something that you can do, especially with the tube bands, or even the loop bands, is to change your starting position. So the farther away that you start, the harder it's going to be, because you're already giving some tension on it. And then that last bit is going to be the hardest part. So for somebody that is just a beginner, you can start a little closer, and then you don't get the full resistance of the band until, you back up and you slowly increase your resistance.
yeah, exactly. And then something that I even like doing is actually taking the resistance bands and kind of wrapping them around my wrist, and then also using a light dumbbell, if you have access to it, just to kind of double that coordination, and then also double the resistance a little bit more, rather than just looping on more resistance bands, to actually add resistance to your hands that doesn't change over the length of the movement, whereas then the resistance bands do.
Yeah, and it's not like investing in maybe like 10-pound dumbbells and then outgrowing them. For resistance bands, you can always add additional resistance, and they're mainly used for, just regular movements that need a little extra oomph to them, rather than just heavy lifting.
Yeah, and also not to neglect, we don't want to keep going here on this point. But the other thing is, so we also utilize very, very light, not only dumbbells, but specifically bands, any sort of band as well, because in a correctional pattern, doing that same movement over and over and over again, say for a rep range of 12 to 20, I'm not going to be able to do anything shoulder related with a very, very heavy resistance. And we don't necessarily want to use resistance bands to max out and to just do, as many as possible. Resistance bands are set in place that you can maintain the same resistance, and it continually gets harder over the course of you doing it. So it can reiterate, or
It's just
can
kind
make
of
your movements better.
distraction to, if your knee is caving inward, then you would loop a band around it to make it cave even more inward. And that sounds counterintuitive, but what that does is it makes you aware of how far it's going in and where it shouldn't be, to make you push it out and correct your form.
Mm-hmm.
So light resistance bands are really useful for that. They're, almost paper thin, but they also help to, not only correct your movement, but help you to gain mobility. So if you're sitting in maybe a pike position or a straddle position, and you're having a really hard time getting all the way down to stretch, looping a light resistance band around your foot and then leaning into it can help you get some just movement in toward that foot to get a little bit of an extra stretch without straining yourself.
Exactly. And mainly, so the resistance band is kind of the framework of what we're going to be talking about here for the rest of the podcast. But it's also something that even if you do have a whole home gym and you have all the bells and whistles, if you can go back to using resistance bands, it's also advantageous. So whether you're a beginner or you've been lifting for 50 years, try to always go back and have some sort of level of resistance band.
Yeah, and the other thing that you can do, we talked a lot about resistance bands, but if you're really into cardio and you are like, well, I can't, I can't go to the gym. Maybe the gyms aren't open at, the times that I need them. But I can't get onto a treadmill. So what am I supposed to do? Or I can't afford a rowing machine, or I just don't have any place to put it. So a really good option for cardio is just a jump rope. And that might seem like, okay, jumping rope, I can't do that forever. But it is a really good way to get your heart rate up, to start your any kind of workout. If you're going to be lifting weights, doing some jump roping beforehand is a really good way. Instead of jumping in the treadmill, you get the same kind of heart rate boost to get your muscles moving, get everything warmed up. They also worked for your quickness and hand-eye coordination because you have to focus on where the rope is going and not just moving forward on the treadmill.
Yeah, it's no coincidence that some of the quickest moving athletes in the world use jump ropes to train. Your boxers, your MMA guys, it's usually in like wrestling or some sort of very quick, explosive sport. It's no coincidence. They're obviously doing it for a little bit of cardio to try to just get their lung capacity up and everything like that. However, by just them skipping rope each and every time, their hand-eye coordination gets that much better, and then it translates into their hands, their feet, and then their movements. So if not saying that you're going to be a boxer or go fight someone, it does get you ready to be able to kind of do any sort of workout or anything else that you would need to do.
And the warmer your muscles are, the easier it's going to be to move them. And especially if you're someone that struggles with just moving efficiently or just having limited range of motion, then, doing a couple jump rope, couple seconds of jump rope, even the quicker that you can warm your body up, the easier it's going to be to get into stretching and moving efficiently too. I know I can stretch into all my splits easily, but in the wintertime, I still have trouble starting out if I haven't warmed up effectively because my muscles are just cold. They're not ready to move. And that's just, everyone works the same way that way.
Yeah, and trust us. So jumping rope is something that I certainly struggle with. If you've never jumped rope before, don't think that you're going to go buy a jump rope and then start double skipping and doing the crazy tricks that you see with the boxers.
But that is the other thing, is you're not limited to just jump roping. It's not just jump roping and getting it over with and then starting the rest of your workout routine. You can do crisscross, you can do double unders, you can do backwards jumping, you can even do on one foot. And all of that stuff, even if it's slow, even if you're just swinging it around and then hopping and then swinging around and then hopping at that speed, you are still working on your stability, you're still working on your hand-eye coordination. And the same way that the resistance bands work, you can adjust to your own speed. It's not like you set it on level 5 on the treadmill. You are in charge of your speed and you're in charge of how you're jumping.
Yeah, that's the point that I was getting to as well. It's just like you're jumping rope. If you actually view it, and honestly, much like any sort of weightlifting, if you view it as a sport, you're not just expected to pick it up and be great at it. Jumping rope is one of those things. So you're not just going to pick up a jump rope and then all of a sudden be doing double unders. Take it at your own pace and kind of warm up accordingly. Now, the beauty with jump roping is, though, it is such a full body movement. It warms up your entire body. Like Sarah said, it's probably one of the best things to do, especially in the wintertime. Even if you do happen to go into the gym or anything like that, how little a loop band is and how little a jump rope is, that you can just stash them in a gym bag, have a quick warm up, have a quick cool down, and even if you wanted to superset and go back to the jump rope in between your sets and keep more of a high intensity interval training workout.
And then you're not waiting for machines either, you're just ready to go.
Right.
So another thing that is really, really good to have is a pull-up bar. And you can say, oh my gosh, I can't do a pull-up. Why the heck would I invest in a pull-up bar? But it's not just limited to pull-ups. So you can use the pull-up bar for abs. You can use it for stretching and just hanging. But you can also use it for pull-up variations, even if you're a beginner and can't yet do a pull-up.
Yeah, a pull-up bar, if you're going to mount anything and you're committed to this fitness transformation, or you're just committed to just having something in your house, the pull-up bar is by far and away it's the most important thing that you can have. They're relatively inexpensive. You can usually make them on your own, and do yourself a favor, get yourself a good pull-up bar, because the thing that you'll find is, if you get one of the ones that swing over the door, which they're fine, they're great for if you're beginning or whatnot, they tend to cause damage to your house, and sometimes they slip. Do yourself a favor, and if you have a garage or a basement or something like that, mount them to the joist. Have a professional come in and do that. But just know that once you have that pull-up bar set up, you're going to be able to do, like Sarah said, a bunch of different things, whether that be stretching, and I won't, take words out of her mouth, but even just then using those loop bands that you have to be able to throw that over to be able to do some shoulder work, or some core work or anything like that, it becomes a building block, and it becomes a piece of machinery that you can then attach numerous things to it to get a better workout.
And if you are, dead set on that's probably the question that I get asked the most. Being a gymnast and being a woman is that my friends ask me, how do I do a pull-up? Can you teach me? And you can, the thought is you kind of get up there and you work on your muscles enough, and then you get on the bar finally, and then you just do it. But you can do that sort of, but just like anything, practice at the actual skill is going to help you the most. So getting up on the bar first, just hanging and working on your grip strength, is a really, really good start. Not only does it elongate your spine and help relieve some pressure off your back, but you're also holding your own body weight and getting used to that. And just doing a little bit of tugs in your scaps and in your shoulders and getting yourself moving is a really good start. Even if you can't pull yourself, if you are a beginner, don't even start trying to pull yourself on the bar. You're just going to get disappointed, and that's okay. You don't need to be able to get up to the bar on your first try. But the other thing you can do is negative pull-ups and that's probably the thing that I suggest the most to people who are new to pull-ups and really, really want to get it, is to start with your chin on the bar. So maybe you stack up a chair or something to get yourself up there so you don't have to worry about the actual pull-up. But start with your chin on the bar, and then hold it there for a second, and keep your arms engaged, and then slowly allow your arms to straighten. So you're actually doing the reverse of a pull-up. You're letting yourself go instead of pulling yourself up, but it's the same muscles. They're elongating instead of, contracting, but they're working on the endurance that they need to get yourself up to the bar.
Yeah, a quick little, maybe a little bit too technical, but you have the concentric part of the movement, which is the movement where you are contracting your muscles. You are actually pulling yourself, or if you're doing a push-up, pushing. Basically, the hard part of the workout. You're moving the weight away from you or close to you. Hear me out. And then the isometric part is like what Sarah was saying with a negative pull up. So that first move, when you get up the whole way to a pull up and you're holding yourself in that position for as long as you can, that's the isometric part. Or something like even on a curl. So if you curl that weight up and you're holding there at the 90-degree angle, that's the isometric part. Any sort of hold is going to be isometric. And then what Sarah's talking about, that elongating of the muscle, is the eccentric part. So you have con, iso, and e. Eccentric just means you are taking that weight, and think about eccentric as control, right? Anybody could just throw a weight up, or anybody could just throw a weight in with improper form and anything. But it gets very, very difficult to control that weight if you can't slowly lower it down. And that's why it's especially important. And that's why, I've heard a lot of her friends ask her, like, hey, how do I do a pull-up? How do I do this? And the main thing is, if you can control that pull-up by just lowering yourself down as slowly as possible, you are controlling your body weight, which then in turn makes it easier then to pull yourself back up.
Yeah, and then to get yourself started, we kind of mentioned in the loop bands, if you have one of those, you can swing it around the top of the bar, stick your feet in it, and use it for the extra oomph that you need to get your chin over the bar. So start with something that has a pretty good weight first. So then you pull yourself up, you just kind of like, oh, this is easy. I just got up here. And then slowly you can make it, a less of a weight that's assisting you up, just like the assisted pull-up machines that you'll find at the gym. Just a band is all you need to help you. And eventually, after you can do, 15 to 20 of the pull-ups with the band, you'll be able to do it just maybe one or two without the band at all. And that's how you make progress. So don't get worked up with trying to get yourself over the bar the first time. Take your steps, but investing in a pull-up bar is a really good plan.
Yeah, regardless, I know that I had mentioned that try to get the pull-up bar mounted in the garage. If that is not an option for you and you have a small apartment or you can't do anything, certainly a pull-up bar in between the doors works. But the other thing is too, if you can't get that pull-up bar, even throwing a loop through a door anchor and then sitting down on the floor with two loop bands to mimic a pull-up is also a very good first step.
Yeah. And then don't forget that you can also use it for your abs and also for stretching. So just hanging, like we said, you're increasing your grip strength. But using it for abs is I probably use it more for abs than I do for pull-ups. So using it for toes to bars or leg lifts or bringing your knees up to your chest, those are all things that target your lower abs, which are generally pretty hard to, they're often neglected. So hanging from the bar and then just lifting your legs up, not only is that crucial to jumping higher, getting a more tucked position for tumbling or anything like that. That's something that I give to the girls a lot, is a key skill that they need to have, is getting their toes up to the bar. It also helps with straight legs because you need to keep your legs straight while you're bringing it up, and just body awareness because they're literally right in front of you, so you can see if your legs are straight or if they're bent, or where they are, if they're up to your chest or kicking back into your butt.
Yeah, another reason why I just like the pull-up bar in general, or rings or anything that you can hang from, is, like Sarah had mentioned, taking the pressure off your back, but then also utilizing. So I do a lot of squats. We do have a barbell. We do have a weight rack at home, but taking and doing a squat and then going and hanging from the bar, I can really start to contract my lower abs, and I almost do an upside down squat. Not really upside down, but I hold from the bar and I mimic as if I was doing a squat. So I get my hips all in the same motion, and then I'm pulling my feet up as if I am going down for a squat, except my feet are coming up. And just that reverse, like what Sarah was saying, the body to mind connection and just body awareness of the muscles that you need to activate before you go down for a squat. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to do it with the reverse and hanging from something as opposed to just doing it from the ground.
Yep. And another thing that you might want to invest in for, a little baby home gym is a kettlebell. So these are all things on this list that are small that you can tuck behind the couch when you're not using them, or, they don't take up a whole lot of space, but you still can get a full body workout. So the key thing about a kettlebell is it's great for being able to control your weight or just a heavy weight under different conditions. So if you are someone who does some manual labor, investing in a kettlebell is a really good way to practice lifting safely, because it's something that kind of forces you into the correct position if you know the basics of swinging a kettlebell.
Yeah, a kettlebell is designed to be awkward. Why we like kettlebells a lot is a kettlebell is functional. That is like what a kettlebell is. It's not a dumbbell where you can load the weight up evenly. It is specifically designed to not be even. For added stability, you could flip the kettlebell upside down. You could do goblet squats. You could do a whole bunch of things. But the reason why we say a single kettlebell, now if you have two, that's awesome. Two of the same weight. But the reason why a kettlebell, first and foremost, is so awkward to pick up and so difficult. If you only have one, that kettlebell is now serving the same exact way you would pick up grocery bags, or you would pick up a briefcase, or you pick up a wheelbarrow, or whatever it is. Oftentimes, life is not even. So just by picking up a kettlebell that's relatively heavy on one side, it causes your core to stabilize, and it causes your legs to then compensate and kind of find that balance point.
Yeah, if you're doing it correctly, because a lot of times during daily life, you pick up a briefcase and it's full of stuff and it's really heavy. And so what we do is we, stick our hip out to the side and lean away from it to support it. But then that ends up with, putting our spine at a weird angle. So we could practice the same thing with the kettlebell, but it's going to very quickly strain our backs. And it's in using it in a workout, we're putting it in a position where we're not just worried about getting to work on time and then trying to later figure out why our back hurts. We're working out and we're trying to correct ourselves. And so when we're lifting this kettlebell on one side, we recognize, okay, I need to squeeze my abs so I can keep my hips even and not let my back take the brunt of the work.
Yep. And then what Sarah was alluding to a little bit earlier is the kettlebell swing. If there is one movement that everyone can master, whether you are 4 years old the whole way up to 94 years old or older, is the kettlebell swing. And the reason why it's awesome, it's so functional, is because it solidifies and helps you with the hip hinge. It solidifies the correct movement. It is impossible to swing a heavier kettlebell between your legs, which is the form of the kettlebell swing, up to at about parallel with your shoulders and your hands straight out, back to underneath and between your legs. It's impossible to do that movement wrong because you're just going to get thrown off of balance. It's not going to feel right. You're going to feel it more in your back, or you're going to feel it more in your legs, or whatever. So engaging your core, keeping that hinge at the hip, and engaging your back muscles, and then also your legs and your glutes, is what makes the kettlebell swing so awesome.
Yeah, so a hip hinge, just to put it simply, is you're bending at your hips, but your back is straight. So if your body was a door, there's only one hinge in the door. It doesn't bend in the middle. You're going to just bend at your hips. You're not going to bend at your waist. You're not bending anywhere else. So that's a really, really good position to be in for most lifting positions. They're going to require a hip hinge.
Yeah, and also much like jump rope, full body exercise, full body workout. I would say that if you don't have a pull-up bar, but you are able to have a decent, like I would say medium weight kettlebell, something that you could swing in between your legs and not feel comfortable and feel comfortable swinging it. That and a jump rope, I think that you could get one heck of a workout at home.
That's actually the combination that I gave the girls when I was coaching for the gymnastics, especially girls who are working on back handsprings or back tucks. The first thing that is a problem, especially for young girls that don't have the body awareness they need to get up over their heads. And I'm talking about tucks, sure, but if you're just working on jumping, this still all applies. But something that usually happens is they swing their arms are up, and then they jump their knees up. So now they've lost all the momentum that they would have had from their arms. So swinging a kettlebell, you have to work your arms and legs in sync, or it's just not going to go anywhere. So the thing that I give girls that I see that are doing this, or that just need to, I have girls that want they're tumbling higher, or basketball players who want to be able to jump higher, anything that is working on vertical movement and lifting safely. Swinging a kettlebell is where I've seen the most improvement, because you're doing that muscle to mind link that you need to increase your performance.
Yeah, it's one of my. Maybe this is a little bad of me to say, but it is funny sometimes to watch someone pick up a kettlebell and go to swing it for the first time, and they either fly forward or they fly backwards, or they're completely unbalanced, because it is just a movement that until you do it, until you link your core with your legs, with your hands, it's a difficult thing to do. But that's what we're saying, is once you can get that down, you're talking about, even if you work a manual labor job, or heck, even if you work a desk job, doing 30 to 50 kettlebell swings in the morning, broken up into sets, to get your heart rate up and get moving and to work on that hip hinge. That's awesome. And then maybe when you come back from work, it's not something that you need a whole lot of energy for to get amped up for a workout. Really, if you can just set forth a goal to do 50 swings a day, over the course of the day, wherever that is, you're solidifying a really good movement that you're going to be able to use daily, in a hip hinge, whether you're sitting or moving or really doing anything.
Yeah, and you don't have to be using the kettlebell for just kettlebell swings either. So like we said, holding it to the side, just doing, kind of farmer's walks, that's helpful too. But you can use it as a regular dumbbell too. So adding weight to lunges, to squats, you can do like a goblet squat where you hold it with two hands, just upside down, or you can do overhead lifting if it's not too heavy. But with all of that stuff, you can use your kettlebell to just kind of spice up what would regularly be some body weight movements.
Yeah, and one other thing too. So I think the perfect combination for having a kettlebell, just to kind of give you guys an idea of poundage and how heavy you should be going. I would say you want to probably be at about 20 to 30% of your body weight. So what I swing is going to be a lot heavier than what Sarah swings. However, making sure that weight is heavy enough to be able to find that hinged position. That's first and foremost. And then if you can get that second kettlebell, get a lighter kettlebell, like much later, you're talking about like 5 or 10 pounds. I used a lot of that for, if you flip the kettlebell upside down and, hold it by the handle, a lot of shoulder stability stuff, anything overhead where that kettlebell is wobbling all over the place and you have to stabilize in that. And then you can also do like, an overhead press while, doing a lunge or anything like that. So first and foremost, get a kettlebell that's roughly 20 to 30% of your body weight. And then if you find that you can swing heavier, swing heavier. It's just like jumping rope. You're not going to be, know everything all the very first time you jump rope. You get better at it.
For the most part, for picking weights, it's generally better to pick a lighter weight first, like too light. A kettlebell's a little different because you are about controlling that weight. But just as a general tip for choosing weights, try something that is way too light first. Do the movement, and then you are not stuck with that weight for the rest of your sets. You can go through and pick, and you can drop down or you can go up, but it's a lot safer to be able to go up instead of having to drop down after your first set.
Yeah, the major difference, I guess, is what I'm saying with a kettlebell is even if it's a little bit heavier or on the heavier side than what you get, you can
You're
still
gonna
do
get a swing.
you can still do a swing, and you can still do like a farmer's carry where you're just literally carrying the kettlebell to the side. It's very functional in that, right, where the heavier isn't necessarily bad. And heck, we didn't even get into Turkish get-ups or
No,
anything
but
like
you
that
can
coming
use it
off
for
the floor.
anything you would want to use it for, just a regular dumbbell position too.
Mm-hmm.
So then,
Number 5.
so our last tip is to get a foam roller for just a cool down after your full body workout. So if you've taken advantage of all of these things, maybe you have more equipment than that too. Maybe you've just got an ab workout on a yoga mat. Awesome. You are probably pretty sore. So, or if you're not sore, you're going to be sore for the next few days. So, using a foam roller, even if you are, I would say, especially if you have a more sedentary job, like an office job or something where you're just sitting all day, you say, well, why do I need to foam roll? Because we associate foam rolling with, sports, with something that we need recover from strenuous stuff. But a foam roller is not just good for recovering from workouts, but also loosening up the muscles that have become tight from lack of activity all day.
Yeah, and a foam roller is the most basic form of breaking up muscle fascia. But mainly what a foam roller does that you can also do with your fingers, your hands, a lacrosse ball, a softball, a medicine ball, whatever, a hard object pressing into your muscles. What a foam roller does, it gives you that form factor where you can kind of hit all parts of your body at any time. And it's a beginning into what we've been alluding to this entire time, and that's body awareness. If you can start to understand and feel what parts of your body are sore after certain exercises, now you can really start to target those muscles even prior to doing that workout.
Plus, you might not notice it, especially working with kids. I'd have them do a pretty strenuous workout and then say for the last, 20 minutes, I'm like, all right, you got to go ahead and foam roll. And some of the newer ones would complain and say, well, why do I have to do this? I feel fine. And then I'd say, well, just go ahead. I know you
get on it.
Yeah, they get on the foam roller, roll around for a little bit, and then they finally hit their calves or whatever's tight, and they're like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have been something that they wouldn't have felt that soreness until maybe 2 days later. But attacking it right then and breaking that up, so your muscle fascia is it's the connective tissue that holds your muscles where they're supposed to be. So when that gets really tight, it limits your muscles' movement, and that's where you start to see some resistance in your movement patterns, and it just becomes a little bit tougher to move the way you normally would. So working that out with a foam roller, especially at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, is really, really good. You're going to immediately feel like you can move a little bit better after foam rolling.
Yeah, and foam rolling is also it's a tool. So you're not necessarily you're going to certainly feel better by foam rolling, but then making sure that you're moving in those correct patterns after you foam roll, and making sure you're activating the right muscles with the loop bands that we talked about before, or even rolling your lats and then hanging from a pull-up bar to do scap pulls.
Yeah, so
those types of things you can certainly get better at.
Well, what Matt was saying, like most people have tight lats, especially when you have difficulty reaching overhead. Your hamstrings and your calves and your hips, those are really, really common areas to start with that are sore if you get your foam roller and you're like, I don't even know where to start. But the best part is it's not like a machine in the gym. You don't have to go over and guess what needs to be foam rolled. It's your body will tell you. You're going to find a knot and you're going to say, okay, this is it.
Yeah, and that's something too. I don't know if we covered it, but the way that you foam roll is also very specific as well. You don't just roll.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Next.
yeah. So a foam roller is just in the form factor of a roller. It doesn't mean that you roll. So getting and holding the spot that's tight, doing some contract and relax. So you find that tight spot on your calf, squeeze your calf nice and tight, and then allow that calf to relax over the foam roller. You could do this with any part of your body.
Yeah, and then holding it for at least 30 seconds. It's going to feel like a long time, and you'll have to keep telling your body to relax in order to really get into where the muscle needs to be, muscle fascia needs broken up. But 30 seconds is how long it takes for our muscles to be signaled to relax. So we have these Golgi tendon organs, or GTOs, that tell our muscles to, when there's too much tension, to relax. So that's what we're trying to do, is to up that tension and then have your legs relax. So it's the same thing that we feel after we've maybe squatted too heavy, and then we get jelly legs afterwards. It's the you have too much tension, and then our body is saying, okay, we got to relax, or else we're going to be way, way, way too tight, and we're not going to be able to move.
Yeah, and if we start to take that form factor of the foam roller and shrink it a little bit more to a little bit something that's more portable, a lacrosse ball is something that is in my travel bag all the time. Especially in traveling, my upper back and my traps get very, very tight. So being able to take a lacrosse ball up against a wall and lean up against it, or even just on the floor, is nice too. I mean, anytime that you can work on your mobility and your general tightness level, the better. Now, if you happen to have a foam roller, great. If you don't, there are so many other things, even just, leaning up against the wall, or using a lacrosse ball, softball, whatever you have, a rolling pin in the kitchen, or even just your two fingers, like your two thumbs, digging into your calf muscles and holding it there for 30 seconds to break something up.
Your knuckles.
Your
Something
knuckles.
that we use, and,
Yep.
because hips are tight, then just digging your knuckles in and holding where it's sore. And then, another thing that we can do, it's with the foam roller, is it prevents injury. So we're already increasing our mobility by breaking up that connective tissue where it's knotted. But, having incorrect movement patterns, that can also cause injury because our mobility is lacking. So something that is a major, major thing in women especially, and super dangerous for gymnastics or cheerleading or tumbling or dance, is knee valgus. So that's kind of when our knees are facing inward, and now they're not supported by our ankles or our feet. So a way to, and this is where it's just a knee injury waiting to happen. So you can imagine doing gymnastics and coming down from a twist and just landing with your knee unsupported, how badly that could end. So, and this is caused by overactive adductor muscles, so inside area of your leg. So just by rolling onto your side, sticking the foam roller onto the inside of your leg, and just finding that sore spot, just doing that on a daily basis can really, really, really make a difference.
Yeah, and you don't even need to set time aside to foam roll. The beauty with foam rolling is it's a passive sort of exercise. It could be while you're watching TV, or heck, even stepping on a lacrosse ball and rolling the bottom of your foot while you're folding the laundry, or while you're in the middle of a meeting or something like that. You can also just take a lacrosse ball and put it up underneath your chair to roll up your hamstring. So there's a whole bunch of different things that you can kind of get creative with. And then obviously as you move up, just like in some of the equipment, then you can get percussive massage therapy, which kind of does the same thing as foam rolling. We won't, bombard you with all of that information right now, but just understand that soreness, and also just general tightness, it does not just affect the way that we move. It also affects the way we feel, and even affects the way that we interact with other people. If we're always tight all the time, you can imagine that it's tough to relax. And I know I'm certainly guilty of getting all stressed and anxious and just general stress and pressure. If I just take 15 minutes, watch a YouTube video while I'm doing it, and just kind of relax my back and relax my hamstrings and relax over that foam roller or whatever I have, it's a lot easier to then hold a conversation. It's a lot easier to be able to interact, and you also have a clearer mind to what you're actually doing. So even if even if you don't do any of the other things and work out in general, if you could just spend some time with your body, and understanding it and loosening everything that you can control, the better you're going to feel objectively.
Yeah, I mean, just in general, people, especially me, I'm a workaholic. So if I get in the zone, it's very hard for me to get out of the zone and tell myself to relax and stretch. So having some time set aside, every morning I try to stretch, and every morning I try to do some foam rolling if something's really bothering me. And that's something that, everyone should try to do, especially after a long day of work when you feel like, I don't even want to foam roll. All I want to do is relax. That's exactly what you should be doing, because it's really you're going to feel a difference the next day at work. You're going to feel, you're going to sleep better because your muscles are more relaxed. And it's the same concept of warming your muscles up with the jump rope before you get started, as it is to relax them before you go to bed.
Yeah, treat anything that you're doing like a sport. So an athlete spends 24/7 preparing their body for a sport, which at the end of the day is what pays them and allows them to make a living. So it kind of confuses me sometimes when people are, paid to be an engineer or a lawyer or a doctor, and that's their profession. That's where they make money. However, they don't spend time foam rolling, and they don't spend time breaking up that tight muscle fascia. So then when you go into work, the thing that pays you and the thing that gets you by, when you're not foam rolling and you start to get tighter, now you can jeopardize some days going into work because you're too tight, you're too sore, you're too stiff. And then you accompany that with, the weekend warrior mentality of, you've been relatively sedentary, the whole week, and now you want to go out fishing, or you want to go, take your kids to a baseball game or something like that. And then all of a sudden you pull something. It gets very difficult to come in on a Monday morning, especially when you're really sore. So keeping up with that and almost treating our jobs like a sport, like you were an athlete.
That's the whole point of being fit for the task.
Exactly.
Is just being able to, have functional mobility, being able to be strong enough, be fit enough, be mobile enough, and be relaxed enough to be able to do your job and anything else that you want to do. So we'll just do a recap of all the things that we said. So for a full body workout at home, some of the equipment that we'd recommend are resistance bands. You can use them for just full body workout, for correction, for mobility. You can use a jump rope for coordination, quickness, and stability. A pull-up bar is really, really good for using your upper body in ways that you can control your own body weight. For endurance, for abs, and for stretching, especially stretching out your back after a long day of sitting or standing. A kettlebell for functional movement and proper lifting techniques, and for your legs and shoulders. And of course, a foam roller for recovery, mobility, and preventing injury from incorrect movement patterns.
Yeah, let's have a little bit of fun. Let's create maybe just one or two workouts, just right off the cusp. with some of the equipment that we've suggested, with just those 5 pieces of equipment: resistance bands, jump rope, pull-up bar, kettlebell, and foam roller.
Okay. You want to start?
Yeah. So mainly for foam rolling, what we're gonna do this before and after we work out. So that's gonna be very simple. Spend 5 to 10 minutes before, and maybe about 10 to 15 minutes after your workout to
Paying
break up those
particular
muscles. Yep.
attention to any muscles that are sore or give you improper movement.
Yep. So that's going to be first and foremost. So let's get a little bit of a warm up in. So I would say, what we'll do, 45 seconds to 60 seconds, a minute of jump rope.
Jump roping. Yep.
And then let's go directly in right there to about 5 to 10, maybe 10 kettlebell swings. So we're going to repeat that for about 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. Get a nice little sweat going. The key is just warming up your core, getting that nice and hot, so that any other exercise we can do. So first, we're going to start with, like I said, 5 to 10 minutes of foam rolling. Then we're going to get right into just jumping rope and supersetting that with some, just about 10 kettlebell swings. And we'll go right back into 60 seconds of jumping rope.
Okay. So another thing that you could do, especially before you really get into the heavy lifting, would be to use a loop band around your calves to warm up your glutes. So just doing some kickbacks. And when we say kickbacks, there's not really a huge kick happening. It's just squeezing your glutes so that your foot goes back a little bit, and it makes your glutes activate and ready to get moving. What we mean by activation is sometimes we can go through the movements of maybe a squat or a lunge, and we're using a whole lot of muscles, but our glutes are not involved when they should be, and that's where back pain and just lack of support can come in. So doing some of that would be really, really helpful before you really get started as well.
Or we can let's just incorporate that with the workout.
Okay.
That's kind of where I was going with that. Is let's just give them just one exercise. So you're going to start with foam rolling. You're going to go 60 seconds of jumping rope, 10 kettlebell swings, and we're going to repeat that for about 3 to 5 minutes. And then for our actual workout, what we're going to do is do some crab walks and some kickbacks, supersetted or just incorporate some pull-ups as well. The perfect full body movement. So that's going to look something like this. So what Sarah was saying with the kickbacks, you're just going to wrap a resistance band around your ankles, and you're just going to almost looks like a donkey kick, but not that far, just enough to activate your glute. And then we're going to take that band, roll it right back up to our knees, and then we're just going to walk from side to side, keeping our feet nice and straight. If you do have any questions about this, we're going to build this workout and then check it out. We'll give you that workout directly online and kind of walk through exactly what we're talking about. And then, for our actual workout, we'll have that, and then we'll have some pull-ups and squats. That's it. So you're going to use the pull-up bar, use the loop bands if you can't do a pull-up bar.
Or if you don't have a loop band, you can always do the negative pull-ups. So just putting your chin on the bar and coming down slow, or just the holds with your chin on top of the bar. And when your chin is on top of the bar, make sure your chin is not doing the heavy lifting. It should just be your biceps and triceps.
Yep. And then we either use a kettlebell or loop band in order to do our full body squats. So either taking the loop band over your shoulders and squatting down, or just taking a kettlebell on one side and then doing a squat with a counterbalance. So you're just doing a squat with the kettlebell on one hand. Mm-hmm. So kind of to recap, I
don't know if I remembered all that.
That's fine. So all right, so it's gonna look like this: 5 to 10 minutes of foam rolling, full body. Then you're gonna go about 3 minutes of supersetting, 60 seconds of jump rope to 10 kettlebell swings. You're going to do that, and then you're going to go into your tube walks. So either around your ankle or around your knees, you're going to walk side to side, activate the glutes, and then you're going to go into pull-ups.
Glute kickbacks.
Yep, you can do those. Just something activating the glutes, and then We'll do some pull-ups, resistance, or negative pull-ups, I should say, and then right into full body squats, and then we'll just end it with foam rolling.
Sounds good.
So perfect. So if you guys don't have any, combination of these exercises, feel free to check out our workout of the day. It is only $5 a month, and what we do is we set you up with all of the why behind exercising. So giving you guys the correct movements and doing things the correct way and why they implement to that. Yeah. And the cool thing with that workout of the day is that you can incorporate just body weight first and foremost, but then if you have any one of these pieces of equipment, you can then enhance that workout and make it a little bit more to your strengths.
Yeah, so all of the exercises that we do are all body weight. Some of them use dumbbells, but you can also substitute bands. You can also just do them with body weight. Some of them use stability ball, but again, all of these exercises are designed to be done at home the same way that you would use them for just regular everyday lifting, regular everyday movement, whether it's hiking, biking, just lifting stuff at work. We link all of the movements to actual real life everyday movements.
Exactly. So if you guys are a little bit concerned of how to get started, feel free to check out. We actually have an article that's posting everything that we just talked about today. Feel free to double back and listen to this podcast, but use this just as a resource, as a reference. We've set everything kind of up for you guys to be able to take any information as you will without getting so confused. But just keep in mind that a home gym does not need to be as complex as stuff that you see on social media or stuff that you see on TV. A home gym can literally just be your body, and then get equipment as you feel fit. But if you do have any more questions, guys, feel free to check out fitforthetask.com. Also, check out our app. We'd love to come alongside you and help you with your fitness journey. We'll tune in for the next one. Thanks, guys.